the Lynchburg City School Board meeting, April the 13th, 2021. And we want to thank the public for your joining us, as you are also able to view this meeting on LCS YouTube channel as we are moving forward, and then rebroadcast on Comcast Cable Channel 17. I want to underscore we are so delighted to have members of the public in person and watching via technology tonight. And as is the protocols for our meetings here at Dunbar Middle School at 5 o'clock, please govern yourselves accordingly regarding all of our COVID-19 protocols established by the board. And we will appreciate you governing yourselves accordingly. Our section B of our meeting tonight, agenda approval. I do want to make sure that the board, having received notifications earlier of our book-ended closed sessions and some readjustments to the agenda to make it more efficient and effective for what needs to happen tonight. Having said such, is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
Thank you, Dr. Nilles, making the motion, seconded by Dr. Carter. Any further discussion, questions regarding the agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, and our agenda will flow as outlined. Section C of our agenda for tonight is relative to a closed meeting, and the school board needs to convene a closed meeting to discuss the following as permitted by Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A7 for consultation with legal counsel about the case of John McLean versus Lynchburg City Schools and Lynchburg City School Board, because consultation in an open meeting would adversely affect the negotiating or litigating posture of the school board. The recommendation is now for us to move into closed meeting as permitted by the Virginia Code. Is there a said motion? Ms. Morrison motion that we would go into the closed meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dr. Carter. Any further questions? Then we'll ask for the motion to be carried. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. And we do want the public to just stay with us, and we're going to go back for a very brief closed meeting, and then we will return. Our board members have now situated, and superintendent will move now to C2, and the chair would first like to entertain a motion for us to come out of closed meeting.
I move that we come out of closed meeting.
Dr. Carter has made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Brennan. Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion carries. And now the school board would now need a motion to approve the certification of the closed meeting in accordance with the Code of Virginia, Section 2.2-3712, in which we certify that in the closed meeting just concluded, nothing was discussed except the matter or matters specifically identified in the motion to convene in the closed meeting, and two, lawfully permitted to be so discussed under the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act cited in that motion. Is there a motion? Certify.
I'd make a motion to certify.
All right, and it's seconded, and we'll start with our school board member Harvey.
Yes.
Dr. Gupta?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, and Dr. Gupta, Dr. Sinha, yes. Dr. Nillis?
Yes.
Dr. Coleman, yes. Dr. Brennan?
Yes.
Dr. Carter?
Yes.
Ms. Morrison?
Yes.
Ms. Evans? All right, so certified the meeting. We are now going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. What an important thing to do. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We will now move to Section D of our agenda for tonight, which is going to consist of some special presentations. And the first special presentation each spring at the Virginia School Board Association's Regional Spring Networking Forum, an art contest is held to showcase art from the region. And so I'm going to now ask Dr. Edwards to bring forth this rich information for us tonight.
Absolutely. So it always gives me great pleasure to celebrate the talent that we have here in Lynchburg City Schools. And we have a lot of talent. So I'm going to ask Dr. Bryant to talk a little bit about the art contest, and I believe he is on Zoom.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes, thank you. Dr. Coleman, board members, and Dr. Edwards, thank you. The Virginia School Board Association hosts an annual regional art competition, as Dr. Coleman said, and I am pleased to recognize the local winners from LCS. All right, the first slide. Next slide, please. The elementary winner is Stella Wilson, and the title of her art is Winter Cardinal. And Stella attends Bedford Hills Elementary, and Stella's teacher is Keena Collins. And Stella is in the second grade. So congratulations for Stella for winning the elementary category. The next slide, please. The middle school winner is Reese Corby, and the title of Reese's art is I. And Reese is a student at Sandusky Middle School, and the teacher is Karen Camden. And this is a painting on canvas with incredible detail. So the next one is Ananda Graves. Ananda is the high school winner, and the title of her art is Self-Portrait. And Ananda attends Heritage High School, and the teacher is Ella Schwartz. This piece of art was created digitally using graphic vector program in Google Draw. So congratulations to her for creating that piece of art digitally. And normally at this time, we present the students with their framed artwork, but all of the art pieces have been framed and are on display at their schools. So congratulations to Stella Wilson, Reese Corby, and Ananda Graves for their work. And thanks to their teachers, Keena Collins, Karen Camden, and Ella Schwartz for their work with the students. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant, and one more time, we congratulate our local winners in this very important part of what we do, and that is to celebrate the arts. And so thank you very much, Mr. Bryant. We will now move to D2, which will have a special presentation around our science fair. And once again, Dr. Edwards, if you could lead us in that.
Absolutely. So I said we had a lot of talent, not just in the arts, but also in the sciences. And we have our science supervisor, Miss Maria Yeager, here. I think she's on Zoom as well, to share that news with us. Ms. Yeager.
Good evening. It gives me great pleasure to be here this evening to honor our very, very talented students. The 44th Annual Central Virginia Regional Science Fair was held virtually March 6th through the 8th, and 75 students participated and represented high school from Lynchburg City, surrounding counties, and one private school. The fair is an affiliate of the Regeneron International Science and Engineering Fair. 2 regional finalists will represent Central Virginia at the International Fair in May, and one of those students is a Lynchburg City Schools student. Additionally, 18 students were nominated to represent the Regional Science Fair at the Virginia State Science and Engineering Fair, held virtually April 10th and hosted by Virginia Tech. Lynchburg City Schools had 8 students participating at the state level. And congratulations to all these students invited to attend the state fair, as well as the students who placed at the regional event. This evening, we are recognizing the Grand Award Regeneron ISEF finalist, which is an incredible honor, and the 2 alternates from the Lynchburg City Schools. The Regeneron International Science and Engineering Fair, called ISEF, is the world's largest international pre-college science competition. Regeneron ISEF provides an annual forum for more than 1,800 students in grades 9 through 12 from every state, 80 countries, regions, and territories to showcase their talent. After competing in many science fairs, the top winners have the opportunity to participate in a Regeneron ISEF. And this year will be a virtual event. These top young scientists will come together to showcase their talent on an international stage and compete for nearly $5 million in prizes and scholarships. All right, so this year's LCS Grand Award Regeneron ISEF finalist, and as I said, is an incredible honor, is an EC Glass and a Central Virginia Governor's School student. She participated in the state science fair in April, where she received an honorable mention in the Energy, Sustainable Materials, and Design category. And I wish I could pronounce the name of her project, but I can't. So she'll have to do that later. Please help me congratulate the Grand Award finalist from Lynchburg City Schools, Jade Persona. Jade will participate in the ISEF competition in May, and it is an incredible, incredible accomplishment. Congratulations, Jade. We are so very proud of you. Next slide, thank you. Additionally, the 2 grand alternates are Jillian Nyland in the physical science category and Virginia Blair Trost in the biological science category, both students from EC Glass and Central Virginia Governor's School. Congratulations, what an amazing job. And congratulations to all the students who participated and placed in these competitions. Thank you.
Wow, Dr. Edwards, anything else to me? That is amazing.
Yeah.
And these wonderful students have received these accomplishments, and made these accomplishments, and we're very grateful and thank you. And it matters to us how these young people are doing. And so thank you so much, Ms. Yeager, for that presentation.
Thank you. They're very wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you for all that you do. That now moves us to D3 in our special presentation. And members of the board, this is for information and also requires action, as you have been previously given advance notice on. And what I would like to do first for information purposes is to share with the board and the public a statement that is coming to us in the form of a resolution from Virginia Association of School Superintendents and the Virginia School Boards Association. recognition of 133 Virginia Public School Division superintendents as Superintendents of the Year for 2020-2021. Whereas in order to ensure the health and safety of all Virginians, schools across the Commonwealth closed on March the 13th, 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and most have provided virtual instruction since then as in-person teaching and learning evolved. And whereas individual school divisions retain the autonomy to decide whether or not new instruction would continue and the format in which the instruction would be presented. And whereas stable and consistent leadership by local school division superintendents has been vital in serving children through this pandemic. And whereas school division superintendents are responsible for the health, safety, welfare, and education of each child while creating school cultures, even within a pandemic, that serve all children, regardless of their circumstances. And whereas public school division superintendents utilize guidance from the Centers for Disease Control, Virginia Department of Health, Virginia Department of Education, local health departments, and local case data in fulfilling leadership responsibilities in their communities like no other time in their careers. And whereas local school division superintendents worked collaboratively with their school boards, educators, parents, and community stakeholders in providing technology, resources, curriculum content, emotional support, and meals to children during the pandemic. And whereas traditionally VAS Superintendents of the Year have been selected via a diverse panel of education associations after reviewing an individual superintendent's ability to demonstrate leadership for learning, communication, professionalism, and community involvement. And whereas all 133 Virginia Public School Division superintendents have extraordinarily exhibited these qualities while leading their school divisions and communities during the 2020-21 school year. And whereas the VAS Board of Directors agreed on January the 7th, 2021 to suspend the traditional selection process of determining a single Superintendent of the Year and unanimously agreed to recognize and honor all Virginia Public School Division superintendents as Superintendents of the Year for 2020-21. And whereas VAS is appreciative of the Virginia School Boards Association supporting this resolution and the honor provided to each division superintendent by having his or her respective school board present this resolution to the superintendent to be recognized within the community for which she serves and leads. At this time, I would like to pause and entertain the will of the board for the approval of this resolution in which VAS and VSBA are declaring our superintendent as Superintendent of the Year along with her 132 colleagues. Is there a motion? Okay, thank you, Dr. Gupta. The second, Ms. Morrison. Having stated that, any further questions or discussion? Would you like to have a discussion, Dr. Gupta?
I just want to make a comment. If any of the 133 superintendent deserve it, is Dr. Crystal Edwards. So I'm sad that she's not getting the only one, but I'm glad she's being recognized for that.
Thank you, Dr. Gupta. All right, any further questions or discussion? Then all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We will now pause for just a moment, and we're going to ask that Dr. Crystal Edwards and maybe Dr. Nillis or someone can make sure that she gets around here safely, and we'll go down to the lower level because we would like to make a presentation to you, Dr. Edwards, at this time. And so you'll have to find your way down the steps near where Tina Day is located. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Lynchburg City School Board does hereby recognize Dr. Crystal Edwards as a Virginia Superintendent of the Year for 2020-21, as designated by the Virginia Association of School Superintendents, adopted this 13th day of April 2021, Lynchburg City School Board. James Coleman, Chair. Clerk of the Board, Tina Day. Congratulations, Dr. Edwards, for a well-deserved honor and recognition. I believe Mr. Edwards is in that line, and thank you, sir. That is wonderful. And then our vice chair of our school board, following all of these principals and leaders, and Mr. Edwards, Dr. Brennan has presented a wonderful floral arrangement on behalf of the entire Lynchburg City School Board. Congratulations to Dr. Edwards and Mr. Edwards. God bless you both.
That's so cute. That's been hard. That's awesome. Yay.
What a strong statement to have the principals and other leaders of LCS to come out at short notice. That is a great testimony of the great LCS team we have. And I'm going to go ahead and say it, we have the best superintendent and the greatest team of any in the whole Commonwealth. Congratulations to all of you, and thank you, Dr. Edwards, for your great service. We also, at this time, would like to present to you that you can put on your wall with all of your wonderful accomplishments, this signed certificate acknowledging this rich and wonderful accomplishment in your career.
Thank you. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, all I can say is y'all got me good. I don't do well when it's me on the other side of the thanks, but I do appreciate it, and I would not have been able to do any of this without the people in this room. I am tearing up. My building principals, my staff, central office, my family, the board. It took an entire village to get us through this pandemic. And we were open, y'all. We were open for learning. We were open for athletics. We were open for music competitions, science fair winners, everything, you name it, but it's because of everybody here. So while I did receive this award, I don't feel like this is something that I did by myself. It was something that I certainly did with all of you and your help and your support. And to my family, y'all get to see me when I leave and I'm one person, and you get to see me when I come home, and you pick me up some days when it's been a rough night, but I appreciate the support and the fact that my mom kept a secret and I didn't know, y'all. That's big right there. That's some huge stuff. So thank you. Thank everybody for being out here tonight and honoring me. And thank you, Dr. Coleman and the board. You didn't have to do it, but I appreciate it.
Come on, board. One more time. Let's thank this great team and staff. And we want to thank our board clerk, Tina Day, and the administrative assistant, Denise Spinner, for getting all of this together. This is a high moment for all of us. Let's just take a few seconds and enjoy it. Wow. Wow. Well, we could close the meeting out, Ms. Evans, and go home if you like. But since we can't, we'll now move, thank you once again, Dr. Edwards. We'll now move to Section E, and thank all the staff for coming. We really appreciate it. Thank each of you. This moves us now to Section E of our agenda for tonight, and this is going to pertain to public comments. And in accordance with the policy BDDH for public participation, we welcome the requests and comments that come to us according to our guidelines that are featured on board docs, and we appreciate individuals as they seek to come and share with us, and we can have those via written statements, voice message, or in person. And so tonight, I would like to first acknowledge that we have persons in advance that would like to share, I believe, and I would like to indicate that persons appearing before the school board will not be allowed to campaign for public office or promote private business ventures and should not use profanity or vulgar language or gestures, make comments about a public official or an employee that are not related to his or her official duties, engage in behavior that disrupts the meeting or intimidates others, or address the school board on issues that do not concern the services, policies, role, and/or responsibilities of the school board. Individual speakers shall limit their comments to 3 minutes. A speaker representing a group shall limit his or her comments to 5 minutes. The representative shall identify the group at the beginning of his or her presentation. A group may have no more than one spokesperson, and the total allotted time for public comments at school board meetings is 30 minutes. Public comments are reserved for the public to provide input, and the board does not respond to comments, answer questions, or otherwise engage in discussion at this time. And we know that everyone will comply with that, because if that is not the case, then I will have to bring you into compliance. We're going to start first with in-person persons, and we have with us tonight, at least on paper, Reverend Carl Hutchison. Are you here? All right. Dr. Carl B. Hutchison, distinguished member of our community, tonight is representing the NAACP, and we thank you for coming.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. Edwards. Dr. Edwards, I saw a cake up there. I thought, congratulations, first of all, on that distinct honor. I represent tonight the NAACP. And there are just a couple of things that we want to mention. First, we'd like to applaud the Lynchburg City Schools and the Diamond Hill Baptist Church. Diamond Hill has begun a project in working with the schools to ensure that our children continue to get the quality education that they deserve. That's one thing. The second thing is my family, especially my cousin out of Virginia Beach. Many of you might remember Barbara Hutchison Parks, who was at Hutchison Early Learning Center when she passed away. But we have a foundation, which we call Barb's Books. And we provide Barb's Books for all of our preschoolers in the Lynchburg City Schools, preschoolers in the Amherst County school system, preschoolers even in Head Start in our area, and preschoolers in Virginia Beach and the Tidewater area. We're expanding our nonprofit to include some other systems that have been requesting our support, and we just ask that you remember us, because we want to be a partner in education. We would like to be the kind of partner that all of our community can be proud of. So I just wanted to mention that tonight. We thank you for the opportunity to come and speak to you. And again, Dr. Edwards, congratulations on that distinct honor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hutchison. We appreciate you coming. We believe we also have with us tonight Michael, and please forgive me if I don't have the right. Vary. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. And he is here tonight to give general comments representing concerned and engaged LCS parents.
Superintendent, congratulations, and the school board admittedly applaud y'all efforts with the COVID safeguarding, yes. However, it's hard for me to celebrate insofar as a number of students, if my daughter is doing okay, she's doing all right with her academic performance, but I'm sure the understanding from a number of parents I talk with at work may not be doing so well, and particularly if they have challenged home environments and the like. And that's why it's hard for me to celebrate that aspect of this year. So I'd like to read, I'm going to try to be quick. I'm Michael Var, Superintendent, board members, educators, staff, students, and fellow LCS families. I am Michael Var. My wife wasn't able to attend. She's a United States Marine Corps veteran. She made some notes I want to read real quick. Echo LCS has been excellent prior. You all have done a fine job prior to this year. Undeniably, COVID has presented numerous challenges. The bridge of engagement is in need of creativity. If LCS feels they have done all they can, maybe it's time to have the answers come from the problem-solving community. The grading system was designed for in-person schooling. We have not changed that, but placed more expectation on students with 9th and 10th grade maturity level. That's load dump. That's load dump. We have one daughter currently attending LCS, as I said. She was a prior National Junior Honor Society from LMS. She volunteered at the desk there, very well liked by Mrs. Ayers. Just call Lincoln, they'll know of our daughter. We have 4 daughters altogether, with the eldest up north working, and 2 recent LCS graduates, presently attending college and working part-time. Our daughters are AA or AAA at one point or another, and LCS done a fine job preparing them. For this, we extend our gratitude for the diversified and broad-based offerings a public school education can provide over and above private schools. And I've been there. I went to both a public and private school. A little bit about myself. I hold bachelor and master mechanical engineering degrees and professional engineering licenses in Virginia and Delaware. I also work for a major defense contractor in an area where it takes us all working as a team to create solutions and quality products our country is so deserving. My father was an educator and coach for nearly 50 years, having also driven the bus for away games back in the day. I contribute my successful years to my parents and mostly the many good teachers and professors. Several years ago at a city council meeting, I stood up on behalf of increased teacher pay and community policing. They are essential to a vibrant community. We all share that. I have watched some of the LCS television program, and I see the superintendent's enthusiasm and drive for diversified learning, such as vocational and field experiential programs. Awesome. No one should dispute the prioritization and execution of LCS's COVID safeguard measures for compliance to CDC or VDH guidelines. However, there's an understanding from a number of LCS families that LCS may have rescinded into complacency with level of creativity required to still maintain LCS's mission statement, as the CDC or VDH does not control creativity. And I think that alludes back to the general address for the superintendents of the year, where it didn't disallow for creativity, is the way I read that. And if this is not a concern, then there are those who would question one's value in a public school education. Please note that I have called and spoke with school and LCS administration on behalf of a number of LCS families. I wasn't looking for preferential treatment. A number of times on some of these items with the understanding that there would be creative change. Not out of seeking special treatment, rather seeking something better for the LCS family, teachers, parents, and mostly students, especially for those, many of those who have additional home front challenges. There was recently broadcast a board meeting whereby statistical comparison was made, yet could be made of just about any professional athlete's overpaid salary versus an educator. However, at the end of the day, what is the most important statistic for this year's school program performance? Would it be fair to say the number of missing assignments per student per day? To me, that should be the first and foremost agenda item. How do we get that down? Yes, there are kids who are doing well this year. They may burn out. However, at the end, has there been transparency? Did I miss along the line somewhere statistical measures of LCS's student academic performance? And why isn't this? So, for those with a master or doctor of education, is it fair to say that a continuous lack of in-person or some level of school structure be the main detriment in academic performance of an LCS level student versus a college level student?
Mr. Vara, we appreciate what you have shared. We only allocate 5 minutes for a group, and we want you to share those comments with every school board member by email so that we can have them, very valuable comments that you have made. And we want to thank you for coming tonight, and this board appreciates that. We want to thank you and Dr. Hutchison for coming to make public comments.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. At this time, Ms. Day, do we have any voice messages?
No, sir.
All right, we will now ask our vice chair to read the written public comments.
We have 2 written comments or 2 email comments. One is from Sarah Crosby. I am a parent of 3 LCS students, and I support transgender affirming policies for students at Lynchburg City Schools. Every child deserves to feel safe and respected at school and supported. And supporting our transgender children through policy that affirms their identities helps to do just that. When we say every child by name and need, we should mean it. Thank you, Sarah Crosby. Our second communication is from Mary Jo DeCarmo. School performing arts groups should have the same guidelines for activities and spectators as school sporting events. The school board is responsible for making school activities equitable and not giving one group of students priority over another. LCS school plays and concerts should be able to be performed in the same manner as athletic games. Signed, Mary Jo DeCarmo.
Thank you, Dr. Brennan. And that concludes our public comments for tonight. Again, it speaks volumes for persons from the public to come and share with the board, and so we would like to thank the 2 individuals for coming tonight and for the 2 written comments. Thank each of you. We'll now move into section F of our agenda tonight, which is our student representative comments. And board members, we move this up in the agenda because these 2 individuals are incredibly involved and productive within the life of LCS and beyond. And so we're going to ask that Ms. Grayson Arnold will go first, followed by Jaden Scott.
Hello.
Hello.
How are y'all doing today?
Doing good.
That's wonderful. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Oh, here we go. All right. So first off, I just want to say hello. I hope everyone's doing well. My name is Grace Arnold. I am the Heritage High School representative, and we're gonna get on to presenting. All right. So for the previous events that Heritage has held, this is going to be from February and March, and maybe a little bit of April since it's kind of in the middle of the month. So we had the high demands trade panel, and this was really for different trade work, so things that students don't necessarily have to go to college for, but areas where they can get in and get educated if they don't feel college is their idea. So then we finished up PSAT, SAT, and ACT prep. Really simple, Stanford, a lot of great things that happened there. And then we had careers in cultural arts. Again, Beacon of Hope does an amazing job of including many different aspects of different careers that students can go into. So this one focused on arts, and it encompassed dance, theater, music, and acting. So it was very good for the students who attended. Then we had careers in sports. Personally, I attended this one because I want to be an athletic trainer, and it was amazing. We were able to hear from people from NCAA, and it was just a good experience, and it opened up my eyes to other positions, like other sports positions. So that was pretty cool. And I know that the students really enjoyed that as well. And then we had college nights for the juniors. So this was hosted by Zoom, or this was presented in Zoom, but it was for the juniors to ask questions as they embark on their journey to become seniors. And I know this was much needed because it's definitely a lot of questions and different things that you're just not sure about. And then we had breakfast with the superintendent. That was on Zoom as well. And this year's discussion was Lead with Care. So that was nice. And then again, Beacon of Hope doing their thing. This is probably my favorite section of this slide or of this presentation, the pioneers in hybrid learning. It's so amazing to see what students are doing during this weird time of COVID where we're in school, but then sometimes we're not. So it's really cool to see. So Miss Glaze's art class, they worked with claymation with the Chromebooks. And this is just this is one of the students' productions. It's pretty cool. Just a second to watch it because it really is interesting on how she restarts it. But that's just a clip. There's more to come, so we're excited for that. And then in Miss Edwards' class, so Miss Edwards teaches dual enrolled college biology, and students were able to dissect a cow's eye, which is kind of gross, but it was pretty cool because they were able to see, like remote students were able to see on Zoom. And then culinary. So Koyan Jenkins Duggar, we actually stole him from Glass, but he is doing great at Heritage with cooking. And this is him. He was making all sorts of yummy stuff. I think it was like eggs, some potatoes. He was doing his thing. And then sports medicine. So this is Coach Hallberg's class. He is our athletic trainer. And in this class, the students were learning about like the cardiorespiratory system with endurance, and then muscle spindles with vibration. Can't explain all of that, but it's just, it was just a good time for students to learn about the different aspects of the human body in sports. And then Mr. Carter's class, this is really cool because because the students were able to be socially distanced through the entire time and still practice teamwork. So they were trying to get a little salt or a little tennis ball on top of that PVC pipe. It took them a couple of times, but it was pretty cool to see. And then Heritage Makerspace. So Heritage just acquired a Glowforge, and it's really kind of hard to explain, but it can engrave, cut, and something else. It's really interesting. There's a video on the Heritage High School Facebook page if anyone's interested more about it. But we've been able to make stuff for students. So Jacoby Lambert with his 1,000 points, they were able to make a little plaque for him out of I think glass or plexiglass, something like that. And then they were also able to make little plaques for the different flags because in Heritage we have all the flags from each country. So just like to put the labels on it so students know. And then now these are the upcoming events. I actually don't think there's any, except, of course, we have graduation, the school year's ending, which is kind of sad, but kind of cool at the same time. So there's really not, I don't think I have anything for this, but life's continuing, school's continuing, but for right now, we're kind of in a chill mode as we get on to testing and things like that. So Pioneer Achievements. So we have Miss Nagaris. She was awarded the Lynchburg Top Living Teacher, and she teaches Spanish. She's really super sweet and all around just super nice. And then Coach Bradley, he was recognized by the WISE program, which is the personal finance program that Heritage uses. Well, I'm pretty sure Glass uses it too, but to teach personal finance, which is pretty amazing in itself that we're able to take that. And then the 2021 Optimist Club members. So Tyler Courier, Alyssa Penn, JC Moet Zellman, Gabriella Carey, Sarah Handel, Carrington Harvey, Tyler Lane, Leanne George, Anna Taylor, Sakaya Blair, Sage Karana, Joy Candy, Eric Flint, Koyon Jenkins Duggar, Charlie Arms, and Nicholas Harvey have all been recognized by various teachers in the school just for their optimism and how they're able to adapt and change and be supportive and loyal to the school and in the classroom. So I just wanted to shout all of them out and thank them for making Heritage the place that it is. And then Pioneer extracurriculars. So we have wrestling. So back in February, we had the senior night for wrestling, and then those are our 3 seniors, Claudia, Ravine, and Zach. They did great, and I think their season got cut short due to some COVID complications with and then we have girls basketball. They ended their season 2 in February, I believe. So there's that. They I'm not sure about their season record, but they were doing pretty well. They're still keeping it going. And then basketball cheer. These cheerleaders are amazing. They're super, super sweet. They even, in this next page, they made a bunch of cards for healthcare workers, which I just thought was really amazing. The fact that they took time out of their day for each healthcare worker. I'm pretty sure it went to Lynchburg General. I just thought that it really touched my heart to know that our cheerleaders were thinking of the people who are taking care of our community. So shout out to them for that, because that's just amazing. Moving on, we have track. Personally, so happy because it's spring season. This is indoor though. It ended March 2nd with states, or March 3rd with states. But that was indoor, new season coming up. Oh yeah, and then we do have states. So state champions, that was Alasia Oak. She placed first in long jump, triple jump in the 55 meters. Personally, I placed first place in shot put, which is pretty amazing. And my best friend Jalasia Jones, she placed second. So we're really out there. And then Jalil Hamlet, he placed first in the triple jump. And then the boys 4x200 meter team, they placed first as well. Unfortunately, both teams missed the mark by only a couple of points. So we both overall placed second, but the people listed on the screen, we placed first, and we should get our ring soon. So that's pretty exciting. Football, that started back up, I think in March. But yeah, so Heritage, we're in the playoffs. We played Rockbridge last Friday and won, thank goodness. And now we're moving on to round 2, where we play LCS Friday, April 16th. I would tell you where to get tickets, but from what I heard, it's going to be very, very hard to, and they're not necessarily sure yet. So the best bet is to try to watch it on the NFNH website. It's further down in the slide, but that's your best bet to watch it. And then spring sports have sprung. So we have finally started practice and tryouts for track, softball, baseball, tennis, soccer. But yeah, we're commencing as we end this school year with our spring sports. And then the theater. So the Pioneers point out, because that's amazing that we were able to do theater and still have our actresses protected. So I just want to shout out Heritage for that, because I thought that was pretty cool. And then, as we wrap up, here's our Pioneer social media. Seniors, freshmen, everyone, definitely check out the Instagram for the Heritage High School Yearbook, because the book's supposed to come out and then every once in a while they'll ask a question to put in and all that stuff. So just to stay updated. And then Facebook, they always have stuff going on there, and just like the different events and things that have happened in recognitions. So if you're really interested, you can always check there. And then Twitter, I'm not sure if we really use Twitter, but it's there just in case you want to follow. And then right there is the Beacon of Hope Google Classroom codes. So feel free to take a little screenshot or whatever to get those codes for yourself or your students. And those in those classrooms, they have they have opportunities. So like scholarship opportunities, the different careers in college things. So like the military, sports, arts, all that stuff. So definitely stay updated and stay in those. And then there's just more Beacon of Hope information. That work cell right there is for Mr. Cohen. He is the director for Heritage High School. And then there's the Instagram, which you can also message them if that's easier for you. And that's it. Thank you for having me. And what else? Oh, Dr. Edwards, I don't want to say congratulations because you definitely deserve you definitely deserve that award. I don't know how to stop this. But yeah, you definitely deserve that award, and we're very appreciative as students and faculty, that we were able to have sports, like we were able to have all the extracurriculars and be able to learn. It's just amazing as a student to be able to have you as our superintendent, and same thing for the board. We just appreciate you so much. But yeah, that's all that I have for you today, and thank you.
Yield for a moment for Dr. Edwards to respond, but Grayson Arnold, thank you for those wonderful comments.
Yes, Grayson, thank you. You guys make this job easy, having students like you. And thank you for the very thorough update of everything that's going on in the school, with everything that you're doing and winning championships. How you keeping up with everybody else's stuff is important. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you so much, Grayson, and please give our regards to your family and continue the outstanding work that you're doing. Tonight, Ms. Jaden Scott will not be able to be with us from EC Glass, as she is participating in a National Honor Society event. And so we thank Jaden Scott for all that she is involved in, and we will look forward to hearing from her at our next regular board meeting. Thank you to Grayson and Jaden in her absence. That will now move us, with having heard our student rep comments, to section G of our agenda, our finance report. And we are going to hear our February 2021 financial report and ask Dr. Edwards to bring Ms. Laconich on.
All right, Ms. Laconich.
Yes, good evening. Like Dr. Coleman said, we're going to be presenting the finance report through February 28th. The adjusted budget is $101,886,769.97. That is consistent and is no change from the January report. The revenue received to date, we received 55.43%. The expenditures to date has been 56.65%. The expenditures, including the encumbrances, so that's your open POs and your contracted pays that have been set aside, is running at 90.21%, and that is up from the 86.67% we reported in January. We have included the detailed revenue report and the expenditure report that was presented to the Finance Committee at our March 23rd meeting. Also at that meeting, we did also give that update on the health insurance balance, and the ending balance at February was $537,649.06. The one thing we did disclose at that meeting was that we did have to do additional funding to the plan. We are in better shape than we were last year. I had told the Finance Committee that the prior year we had funded in November and December the equivalent of $900,000. This year we didn't have to fund until February, but we did fund $522,567.44. So when we have that ending balance, I just wanted to be very transparent. That ending balance was there because we did put the additional funding into the health insurance plan. And that funding did come from the health insurance budget. So we didn't take it from somewhere else. We had it budgeted, and either the position hadn't been filled, or the person that came in did not take it, or someone that did have it had opted out of it. So again, the ending balance is the 537,649.06. We still have the reserve at the city. Do you have any questions?
Any questions from the board for Ms. Nakonich, Dr. Gupta?
Is there any way to, and I asked that last time, to email us, those who are not on the finance committee, the documents or the handouts presented to the committee?
Absolutely. I will get with Tina just to verify. I thought that it would be put onto the board on the minutes for the finance committee. If I'm mistaken, I'll make sure that it gets to you.
Any further questions for Ms. Nakonich? Thank you then for your report, and we appreciate the work that goes into preparing our financial reports. Thank you, Ms. Nakonich. No other questions from the board. We'll now move to Section H, which is our consent agenda for tonight, and you can see 8 or 9 items that are listed under the consent agenda for tonight. And of course, a motion would be appropriate for the approval of the consent agenda, which deals with the school board minutes from January the 26th, February the 2nd school board minutes, March the 2nd school board minutes, and our work session on January the 19th minutes, work session minutes on February the 16th, and we're appreciative to Dr. Nillis for indicating some things that need to be corrected there. The work session on March the 16th. We also have tonight our human resource report, item 7 in this section, and operation policies that are enclosed, and the special education annual plan from Janine Daniels Bosher. What is the pleasure of the board tonight regarding the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda and all of the items listed under it.
Been motioned by Dr. Carter. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dr. Gupta. Any further questions or concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. We'll now move into Section I of our meeting, and that will lead us to our school board member reports. And we do want to acknowledge that that heading has changed, as we have recognized that our board members are involved in a variety of ways in our work of LCS. Some of you are on committees, some of you are on boards, and so rather than to call it just that, we moved it to school board member reports. And so I will go through each of them, and if you have something for us tonight, please feel free to do so. Finance Committee Chair, Mr. Harvey.
Nothing to report.
Thank you so much, Mr. Harvey. Governor School Liaison Chair, again, Mr. Harvey.
Our meeting is tomorrow.
Thank you. We look forward to the report. All right, Laurel Regional Liaison Chair,
I
Dr.
do
Carter.
not have a report. Our next meeting is May.
Okay, we'll look forward to that. Very good, thank you. STEM Academy Liaison Chair, Dr. Michael Millis.
Yeah, the STEM Academy board met on March 23rd. Main item of new business was reviewing the draft budget. There's only two people on staff, so they have a salary increase because they basically follow our salary scale, and so it was pretty much a routine meeting. There was a little COVID update. They did have one exposure with one of the students, followed the protocol. There weren't any subsequent exposures. And for this year, the class of 2021, 21 are graduating with career studies certifications in engineering fundamentals. 16 are graduating with the mechatronics fundamentals, 5 in health science, and 5 more in cybersecurity. They are planning on graduation and awards, but those are going to be virtual, and those will be in May.
Wow. Thank you, Dr. Nillis, for that report. Any questions to Dr. Nillis pertaining to the STEM Academy? That is good information to have. All right, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Nilles. Legislative Advocacy Committee Chair, Ms. Bell Evans.
We do not meet until May.
Okay, thank you so much, and that'll be so recorded in the work session that will go along with it. Thank you, Ms. Evans. And lastly, our task force, and the board has 2 representatives on the task force on education, and we're thankful for their due diligence, and they will continue to lead us and guide us in that regard. And so we will hear now from school board members Susan Morrison and Atul Gupta.
Thank you, Dr. Coleman. As you all know, the Lynchburg City School City Task Force has been on pause since last March. We have had several Zoom meetings and looked at our charter. As you know, I came to you, and Dr. Gupta and I came to you in January, and we approved narrowing the charter down to 3 areas instead of the 9. We've since had communication and an interest in looking at how we redo this charter and whether we want to take on more. We've received a communication from Vice Mayor Wright to the steering committee, which is composed of Dr. Gillette, Mrs. Preston, Vice Mayor Wright, Council Member Randy Nelson, and Dr. Gupta and myself, asking for feedback. And after he gets that feedback, he will then communicate with us, and if we need to have a Zoom meeting, we will. We plan to bring this information and our proposals to you in our May meeting so that we can move forward with it. Many members of this committee have expressed an interest in restarting. Not yet, because we're still waiting for the direction of where the schools will be, and that's why we're gathering new information. But we'll bring that back to you in May.
Thank you, Ms. Morrison. Dr. Gupta?
I concur with what she has said.
I want to thank each of you. You have attended every session. You're doing a wonderful job representing us, and as Ms. Morrison has stated, we will govern ourselves accordingly and await their report. Thank you both. All right, that moves us now to the unfinished business section of our agenda, Section J, and we are ready for Return to Learn updates. Dr. Edwards, if you could cue us off.
Absolutely, and I am going to ask Ms. Pugh to lead us off in talking about Return to Learn.
Absolutely. Thank you, Board. And I'm excited today to share some updates that we've have been working on. So as you are well aware, I know some board members visited some schools today. We are excited to have been able to welcome our youngest learners back into school 4 days a week for in-person learning. Our pre-K to 2nd grade students came back today. Dr. Edwards and I, along with some other directors and supervisors, were able to go to the schools and visit and provide them some support. And we got to experience firsthand the excitement of both staff and students as they came into school for the first time. It was amazing, even though we couldn't see the smiles behind the masks of the students and the teachers, you can see that smile and their excitement in their eyes. It was wonderful to see students who had been in a different cohort, perhaps with a friend, and they were together for the first time. So we were thrilled today to welcome back our youngest learners. As you know, we're also looking forward to welcoming our 3rd through 5th grade students back to 4 days of in-person learning, beginning next week, Tuesday, April the 20th. I just want to ask our families to please be patient with us as we work out some transportation routes and times at the elementary level over the next couple of weeks. We understand there were some delays this morning, and we appreciate your patience. Families should have received a communication today from the division with a telephone number to reach out to transportation if you had any questions or concerns. Also, as we transition into 4 days a week, I want to remind families that as your students move from 2-day cohort to 4 days of in-person learning, that they are expected to attend school those 4 days, Tuesday through Friday. And attendance will be taken daily, and they will be marked as absent for any of those days other than Monday that they are not in school in person. And just a reminder that Mondays will continue to be a remote learning day. Yesterday, staff and families, as well as school board members, received a communication regarding our 6th grade students transitioning to 4 days of in-person learning. beginning on Tuesday, May 11th. Middle school teachers and staff will be reaching out to 6th grade families in the coming week to confirm that families will be sending their students, their hybrid students, to school 4 days a week for in-person learning. Secondary staff are currently identifying 7th through 12th grade students that need additional in-person support and instruction, and they're looking at those students based on student assessment data and individual student needs. And they're working to get students in 4 days for some additional support at the secondary level as well. I know that both high schools are also working on some senior intensive support to really help our seniors out so that they can look forward to graduation. We are also in the midst of planning for summer and for fall. And at this time, I'm going to ask Dominique Foster, who is a Student Services Supervisor. She's joining us via Zoom. And she's going to share some details regarding the scheduling model at the secondary level for the fall. Dominique has been working alongside principals Rose Flora and Matt Mason, as well as some other school-level staff on this effort as part of the larger planning process for in-person learning in the fall. So I believe Dominique is with us on Zoom.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Thank you. Go ahead.
Hi, yes, good afternoon. I'm Dominique Foster, Student Services Supervisor. So we have been having this discussion about the secondary schedule and format since January for the 21-22 school year. The Return to Learn Fall Committee decided to move to an AB block schedule for the upcoming school year, with a commitment of starting a 4x4 block schedule for fall 2022. And we came to this conclusion and this decision based on needing more time to work out some concerns from our teachers, and also making sure we have continued opportunities for professional development for everyone. The block style schedule will allow for more opportunities for our students to have credit recovery. This includes our robust summer school program and the help of our students moving forward and getting them back on track for graduation.
Thank you, Dominique. The model for secondary will be an AB block schedule. It's a modified block schedule similar to what we have this year, but it will be 5 days a week. So if school starts typically on a Monday, it would be an ABA week, and then the following week would be BABAB. Students would have 4 classes, 90-minute periods, 4 classes per day, but taking 7 or 8 classes in a semester or a year throughout. As Dominique said, they are committed to moving to a traditional block schedule in the following year, which would be 4 classes per semester, and then in the second semester, an additional 4 classes. But as the committee did a lot of work, as Dominique said, they felt like they needed some more time to do professional development and make sure that we could accommodate all of the needs for all of our courses, such as AP and World Language and Cultural Arts in a traditional 4x4. So I believe also Matt Mason and Rose Flora and Tim Beatty are on the Zoom call if you all have any questions.
All right, the floor is open for discussion for board members.
I apologize. Rose Flora and Matthew Mason are sitting right behind me, so if you have questions, they'll be happy to answer at the podium. I apologize.
They are 2 great school building leaders, and so we'll be delighted to hear from them. Dr. Gupta, did you have a question or a concern?
I just wanted to thank Ms. Rose, but I have a question. Do you have a graduation on April 17th, or is it nothing on April 17th?
Go ahead.
Dr. Gupta, I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question.
He wants to know what your April 17th graduation event is.
Oh, that's a celebration for our seniors, where they're going to be receiving their caps and gowns. It's a drive-through celebration to graduation from 11 to 3 p.m. this Saturday.
But it is not graduation.
It's not graduation, no.
Not graduation.
Dr. Brennan?
Mr. I'm sorry, I had a little trouble understanding. Could you one more time walk through the block schedule as far as which schools are doing which one and what the timing is?
It's all secondary schools. It will begin in the fall of 21, so this fall. And it is a modified block schedule. And Dominique, you can explain a little bit more if needed, but it is, students will participate in 7 classes and either a homeroom or a resource or support period throughout the day, but they will take 4 classes in a day, and then the next day they would take the next 4 classes. So there are 4 90-minute periods within a day, and so it would be in a 5-day week, it would be an A day, a B day, an A day, a B day, and an A day. The following week, it's a B day, an A day, a B day, an A day, and a B day. And it goes just like that, so that students are attending, they're taking their 7, 8 classes, but they're attending the class every other day.
And I'm sorry, did you say that the 4x4 block schedule was considered, but there felt to be more professional development in order to do that, so that was not selected?
Yes, a traditional 4x4 would be 4 classes per semester, so that the students, again, would take those 4 classes every single day, but they would only have 4 subjects within a semester. And the committee did a lot of research, spent a lot of time having conversations, and they felt like the recommendation was to go with the AB modified schedule for this year, but committed to implementing the true block schedule in the following year because they needed more time for PD, as well as making sure there are some courses that are challenging in a true block schedule, such as AP and world languages and cultural arts and those types of things. And they wanted to make sure that they are making this transition with purpose and doing it well. So they wanted to take another year to really plan ahead.
Thank you.
Any other board member would like to, Ms. Evans, and then Ms. Morrison.
I have a question. I'm glad that they're not doing that model yet, because I think it's hard to do if you can't do it well. The traditional 4 classes in a semester, teachers are not used to teaching like that, and I think that's a lot to ask, to all of a sudden teach an entire class in 1 semester. So I'm glad that we're not doing that. And I just wanted to say that I'm thrilled that 6th grade is coming back. That's a huge transition year. And I heard a few parents or people say, why are we going to bring kids back for 3 weeks? And it messes up schedules that parents have. But I just want to remind the public that these kids miss the entire transition to middle school. So having that last 3 weeks at a middle school before you have to come back as a 7th grader, I think is critical, and I think it's very smart, and I'm very happy you're doing it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. Ms. Morrison.
Evans said a great deal of what I was going to say. I did hear an interesting phrase the other day, and I thought it was one that I liked. Instead of return to learn to return.
Wow.
Ms. Morrison, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but your phone is not working.
Sorry, you can't hear me. Do I need to start over?
No, you're good.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Regards to testing, because when you take an AP course and you finish it in the first semester, as we will down the road, when do you take the AP testing? The same thing is true of SOL testing. And that was a question where parents had great concerns. I do want to say, though, I like the learn to return. That's what we need to do for our students.
Thank you. I appreciate that suggestion. I like it as well.
Yeah, that's catchy and substantive. Dr. Brennan.
I also want to thank all the staff and administration for getting the children back to school today and next week and then in May. I think that's terrific, and thank you so much for all the effort to do that. I have a question related to COVID-19, which, as we all know, has improved dramatically, but still has not yet gone away. And first of all, I want to thank Ms. Brown and her team for the vaccine program they've done. My question is whether we can be proactive about getting students vaccinated, encourage them to get vaccinated, to give them information on vaccine sites, since it would be such a benefit to them not to be infected in the future and not to share it with our staff. And also from a quarantine point of view, if they were vaccinated, it would certainly cut down on Ms. Brown's work of having to quarantine people. But is it possible through one of our programs, either media or otherwise, to let students know whether it's a good idea and maybe let them be aware of where their sites are available?
Yes, and I'm going to ask, is Director Brown on the Zoom call? And if not, I can speak to this. I believe that she may be traveling. She's attending a professional development for the next 3 days, so she may be traveling there. But she has indicated they are working to organize and get the word out for our 16 to 18-year-olds that they can, we're working on actually securing vaccinations for them and administering them at the schools, at the respective high schools. So
Right.
we are in the works in doing that and wanting to send out some communications to families and get permission to vaccinate those students and do it at the schools instead of having students have to go out. But in that communication, we will also encourage them that it is available within the community if they'd like to seek it that way. So yes, we are working on a plan to vaccinate those 16 to 18-year-olds that would like to receive the vaccination.
Great. Thank you for being so proactive and doing that. That's terrific. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Brennan. Any other board member? All right. Mr. Mason, if you want to say something, thank you for the fine work you're doing over there. I'm somewhat partial, but thank you for the fine work, and Ms. Flower, both of you. Anything else? Well,
I guess I have.
Yes, Dr. Mason, go right ahead.
I mean, I'm not an educator, and I've heard good things and bad things about block schedules and the split block schedule or whatever. One seems like a, I can't think of a polite word for it, so I just will say it seems like a real compromise as opposed to the regular standard schedule, class schedule during the day. So I guess if, I don't know, Mr. Mason, put him on the spot, if he'd care to comment. If he'd care not to, that's okay too.
I'm used to being put on the spot. No, I guess I'm kind of maybe trying to understand. I think you may be talking maybe more about engagement in the classroom because it's longer, right? So right now we're used to, I think last year we were at 7-period day. It was about 50 minutes. This year we've jumped up to about 71 minutes, and now we'd be going to 90 minutes. I've lived under block scheduling. That's all I knew before I came to Lynchburg City. So teaching under that, engagement is really based on me, right? So if I'm not an engaging educator, whether it's 50 minutes or 90 minutes, it really doesn't matter. The students aren't engaged. So I think 90 minutes gives us more time with kids. 90 minutes gives you more time to go deeper into the learning. And so one of the things we're trying to do as a middle school team is look at PD for this upcoming year so that way we can make sure our staff know exactly what to expect out of the 90 minutes and adequately prepare them for that time. So I hope I answered what you were kind of maybe hinting at.
I guess why that as opposed to the standard schedule?
I'll jump. I think one of the considerations was the concern about contact tracing, because we will continue to wear masks and we will continue to be, at this point, 3 foot of social distancing. But we're also concerned about the cohort groups and the number of class changes in a day and trying to mitigate those. So we were advised from Ms. Brown's department and through some of her resources to try to stick with a 4-period day if possible for the following year. And so to do that, this team that's been working on this went with the AB block schedule because they needed more time to plan for the traditional block schedule. So there were some other factors in terms of, instruction is certainly at the forefront, but we also know that we're still in a pandemic and we need to consider health mitigation strategies.
Thank you.
Can I ask a follow-up to that?
Yes, go right ahead, Ms. Evans.
Are you saying that because you need more time that you're, without a doubt, going to that schedule the next year, or is it just an idea?
Well, at this point, it's an idea, but we are committed to putting that idea into play and really researching it and not waiting till the last minute to say, this is this is what we want to do. So that team, I think the secondary administrators feel strongly in favor of. Ms. Foster, who is working with the school counselors feel strongly in favor of a traditional block schedule, but they would like more time to plan and do it well versus jumping into it very quickly. As she mentioned, we started this process and this conversation in January. The conversation is continuing now, and it will continue now all the way through so that we make sure that we have adequate time to plan and adequate time to get teachers trained with PD. So we will continue to bring updates to the board on the progress in terms of going to a traditional block schedule.
And the last thing, I'm going to agree with Dr. Nellis, is it is a very different concept for children. And to have a student be used to, okay, I don't like this class and I've just got to get through 47 minutes of it, and all of a sudden you're at 90. It's going to be a relearning for everyone going into next year. 90 minutes is a long time for the teacher and the student. So I think there's going to have to be a lot of awareness that everybody's learning this, that, everybody's in it together, and, it's going to be bumpy to start.
Absolutely. No, we are committed to the AB block schedule for the fall, so that we are committed to. But the traditional model, they are committed to trying to make that happen in the following year with 4 classes per semester. But I do agree with Mr. Mason that, we really have to give quality PD and timely PD and repeated professional development for our instructors, our teachers, our instructional assistants, all of our staff on how to teach and engage in a 90-minute period. But as he mentioned, if I'm not an engaging teacher, 47 minutes, I'm not going to be engaging. And it is going to be hard. It's almost double the time for students to get through the period, quote unquote.
Right.
But if I'm not engaging in 47 or 90 minutes. So we will have to make sure, we've already had conversations with both the Information Technology Department as well as Curriculum Instruction on making sure that we're starting our PD efforts early.
Thank you, Ms. Pugh, and I do know that the concerns that Dr. Nellis and Ms. Evans have stated tonight, the administration have heard those concerns and will continue to move accordingly. Anyone else? Mr. Harvey.
I'd just like to get a clarification. So when we're talking about going to a traditional block schedule, we're talking about the 2022-2023 school year, not transitioning into this traditional block schedule in January of 2022.
You are correct.
So my concern is here, I want to make sure that the primary reason that we are going to this traditional block schedule in the year 2022-2023 is because it's best for our students.
Yes, sir.
Not because it's a protocol for COVID. Because it is my hope that within another year and a half, we'll hopefully be beyond this. And I just want to make sure that we're planning for what's best for our students in their learning environment. So I share with Ms. Evans and Dr. Nellis the concern that we are doing this for the benefit of the students, and that time period in a class will be as productive as possible and as engaging as possible.
That is the reason, and I think Ms. Foster, she looks like she wants to jump in here.
Yeah, so when we started this conversation back in January of this school year, the concern came from our counselors who are going through transcripts. I think COVID-19 has alerted us to a lot of different things. The concern came from our teachers and our counselors who say, hey, we need more opportunity for credit recovery for our students. So student focus, student concern, student need is the #1 reason that we're having this discussion. It's the #1 reason we've carried it out since January. We have to make sure that we are providing our students opportunities to regain credit. Some of our students we're engaging with. That is the #1 reason why we are having this discussion and looking into the 2022-23 school year to see if this schedule will also allow for that. We did not want to quickly jump into having a traditional 4x4 schedule for this upcoming school year, starting in the fall, because we want to make sure that we execute this and implement this correctly and accurately to make sure that we can confirm that our students and our teachers can deliver this. And for our students, that they will be able to have this as a useful tool to have credit for graduation. So this was the number one concern that came up from counselors who are going through transcripts saying, hey, we need more options for our students to gain credit, especially at the secondary level.
So noted, Mr. Harvey. Dr. Gupta.
I just wanted to acknowledge EC Glass Principal, Ms. Rose, for portraying the best of our LCS district when Governor's wife and Secretary of Health and Human Services came. And she showcased how we are successfully doing in-class instruction, following all the COVID guidelines. And that's why LCS is the #1 among all 133 school divisions in Commonwealth.
Thank you for saying that, Dr. Gupta. I support that statement. Rose and her staff were exceptional that day as they provided a panoramic view to our First Lady and Secretary of Health and Human Services, and so that was outstanding. Mr. Harvey.
If I could follow up and kind of go back to the block schedule discussion just a moment. I guess I'm looking for some data that explains to us why a block schedule is the best for our students. I mean,
Rose, are you there? I'm going to call on Rose.
Yes, ma'am, I'm here. We have done, good afternoon, or good evening.
Good evening.
Data is what is driving this, and I would reiterate what Dominique has said, is that a concern from counselors is honestly the number of students we're concerned that may not be being academically successful. And we need to provide them an opportunity for credit recovery to get back on track. That, combined with a robust summer school program, I am confident we can do that. And we want to do this right and listen to the feedback from our teachers and their concerns in moving to a 4x4 block next year. We could not address their challenges, and which is why we made the decision to go to the AB style block.
Okay. I guess my question is looking long-term. I want to make sure, that this is a decision to go to a block-type format for our schools. Long-term is the best decision for all of our students, not just those that are looking to catch up from COVID.
Absolutely.
But hopefully our students, more traditional students, some of our advanced students, how does this work with the STEM Academy, the Gov School, early college, all of those things. I mean, I'm assuming that all of that's been looked at. So I just want to make sure that we have rationale for doing this beyond just dealing with COVID.
So if I might jump in, because when I came here 3 years ago, we were talking about a block way back then in concept. And just from the learning, when you think about curriculum and you think about quantity versus depth. So when you reduce the number of things that we're asking kids, quote unquote, to multitask on, 7 classes, 7 sets of homework, 47, 50 minutes, switch, turn that information off, turn on new information, get home, try to reconnect with everything. When you look at the research just about the learning, shrinking that and giving kids more quality and depth and less quantity in a given time frame makes sense. There are some organizational things that you have to look at in terms of just what you said, the scheduling. And I'm a former science teacher, and I taught double periods. So the block to me is just, yay, that's what we need to do. Trained to do those things, but then when you do look at some of the electives and you're trying to schedule, especially if you need this elective and then that elective next, it does become scheduling. But from the learning perspective, and even some of the colleges, I think Randolph is having a Take 2 program now that they're moving forward, where kids are going to do 7 weeks of just 2 classes at a time. because they want the students to be good at and to actually dig into what they're learning, apply it, and have that be some useful knowledge and some quality information. So that's been I mean, if you want research on block scheduling, oh my goodness, there's so many dissertations and things out there on it. That's been the long-standing piece about pro-block in terms of just how we use time to go for depth and not just, a wide curriculum. But as Matt said, if you're not engaging, you can't use a block schedule to just say, well, now you got 60 minutes left, just go work on something. That's not the point, which is why I'm glad that they're being thoughtful and mindful about what type of instruction works best in a block. It's not, as Ms. Evans said, you have to teach. This is not, I'm sitting behind my desk. You have to be engaging, you have to rethink. And it's different. You almost take some of those great approaches at our elementary school levels where stations and rotations and things like that to keep kids engaged and keep their minds on. You move to a student-focused learning environment where it's not 90 minutes of the teacher. I'd be exhausted. It has to be student-focused. So there is a lot of rich professional development that helps teachers, helps students stimulate their minds so that during that 90 minutes, when block is done well, what you end up hearing is kids go, oh my God, the period's almost over, we gotta go. That's what you want. You want classes where kids are running in and they're upset that it's over. And that's what we're trying to achieve for our students, while also being mindful of, Lynchburg City Schools, we offer a lot of variety for kids, and we transport kids everywhere to everything. So how do we manage internships in the middle of that? How do we do Gov School? How do we do dual enrollment? Those are all great challenges for us to work out, and we'll take the time to work them out.
If I might, to the board, of course, this sounds like a matter of great interest, and I'm certainly interested in getting greater knowledge on it myself. Maybe this should be something that we discuss in a deeper way in a future meeting, work session, or what have you. We certainly can remain on this issue, but it does seem like it will require some additional thought that could be appreciated in the future. Mr. Harvey, do you have anything else you wanted to say?
No, I would just appreciate that, because, I'm learning a lot about this,
Okay.
and that's why for that to be a big shift, when I went to school, it was 7 classes. So to go to 4, I see a lot of the benefits, especially, from my perspective with career tech. It gives them a lot more time to stay focused in a career tech program, so I could see the huge benefits to this. I just want to make sure it's all encompassing to all of our students.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. Ms. Day, if you could so note that for future consideration. Any further discussion amongst board members concerning the Return to Learn presentation tonight? Thank you, Ms. Pugh. Thank you, Ms. Foster. Thank our building principals who have been working with this for coming tonight. And we will continue to receive our updates. As the public knows, we have this at every meeting that we have. And so we want to thank administration for what you're doing. And as Ms. Evans stated earlier, it's good to see what's getting ready to happen with 6th graders, et cetera. And so at this time, Dr. Sinha, did you have anything you wanted to present to us tonight relative to
No, we're sort of trending upward in a couple of measures, like most of the country. So we will keep a look at that. We're not anywhere near where we were back in late fall, early winter. So let's just hope no spikes occur and that people continue to get vaccinated.
But I'm wearing my mask, and I'm encouraging others to continue to do the same. Fully vaccinated. All right. Thank you all. Thank you, Ms. Pugh. Thank you, Dr. Edwards. I would like to ask the board, we're now at Section K for new business, followed by superintendent's comments and board comments. With the pleasure of the board, would you like a 5-minute break, or would we like to press our way?
Break would be great.
All right, let's take a 5-minute break, and we will return 5 minutes from now and move right into our new business items.
Thank you, Sharon.
Mm-hmm.
to give board members an opportunity to resituate themselves, and we'll be ready to move into our closing portions of our meeting for tonight.
Oh, you're set, aren't you?
That's Susan's unhealthy food for me. I have more than healthy food.
Again, thank you, Ms. Morrison, for this wonderful. Thank you so much.
We're glad to have you back for a number of reasons.
I just have to learn how to work the mic, right?
All right. Distinguished members of the board, we will now move to Section J of our meeting, well, actually K, excuse me, new business, and there are 4 items, and we'll begin with governance policy updates. Dr. Edwards.
Yep, the governor's work group met on March 25th. We reviewed 4 policies, and just for the general public, the board likes to review policies when VSBA sends an update, and also any policies that are within 3 to 5 years of having been reviewed. We like to put eyes on them again to make sure that they still represent what we want at LCS. But the 4 that we reviewed were all VSB updates, so they were pretty simple. BBAZ, VSBA is going through their policies and taking out the word shall, so you'll see that change in that policy. BDDC, which is agenda prep, they added the word proposed for the agenda, recognizing that as this agenda did, it changes a little bit before we get to the meeting. Public participation in board meetings, what was added is the language that Dr. Coleman always reads prior to the public participating in a board meeting. They actually just put that in the policy now instead of on a separate sheet of paper. And then the last one is BBAZ, which is qualifications for the school board. And VSBA is also going through their policies to update their pronoun language. So you will see some pronoun language changes in this policy. It also has information about board terms, which we at a later date will come back and have a discussion about that. But for right now, we wanted to just present that one with the changes of the pronoun. So those are the 4 that were for the governance group.
Board, this is for discussion tonight, and will come back to us in our meeting that we will have in May. And so unless there's any other discussion on that, Dr. Brennan?
So first of all, I want to apologize for not being part of the work group, since I was invited, but I was on spring break with my family the week before, so I'm sorry I missed the meeting. But I just wanted to ask one question regarding the public participation in school board meetings. I know we're reviewing the whole policy, and I don't have any question about the VSBA changes, but in the last paragraph where it talks about the total number of speakers shall be limited to a maximum of 6 individuals, and/or group spokesman at each meeting, and the entire public comment shall not exceed 30 minutes. I wonder if we still follow that guideline that we just limit us to 6 individuals, or we kind of it may have more than that now.
It's 6 if they are representing groups, so 6 times 5 is 30, so I think that's where the 6 comes in, so it probably should be worded 6 or maximum of 30 minutes. So let me just double check that. I can make
Sure, thank you.
That's a good eye, Dr. Millis, because from previous board discussions, we're not interested in limiting people as long as they stay within the time period that we've allocated. Any other thoughts regarding the governance policy updates? Mr. Harvey.
I did have a question about that same policy. At the end, does the board have the option to continue beyond 30 minutes? The way the policy is written, it does not afford us that option. I know in the past there has been some discussion that the board could allow that to continue past 30 minutes. So I'm asking that question. I'm not advocating one way or the other. I'm just simply asking the question, is that something that the board would wish to entertain in the policy rewrite?
I'm interested in hearing thoughts from the board. Again, what makes it policy is that we follow it, and all of our policies matter when we consistently follow them. So I would be of the opinion that we would follow what's in the policy, and we have the right to adjust the policy. I do know we've had a robust conversation in the past about participation. It's very difficult to sit a young person down that is articulating from their heart, and they go 10 or 15 seconds over. But what is the thoughts of the board on Mr. Harvey's concern? All right.
I think if I could just clarify, my point is that you just described that the board could extend it. But what I'm asking is, the way the policy is written, it doesn't leave us that ability to do that. It simply states that after 6 individuals, which I think we're changing, but saying a maximum of 30 minutes, I mean, even if we had individuals that, if we had a subject that we wanted to hear more opinion from the public, after 30 minutes, it's done. And I just want to make sure we're good with that, because you're stating that the board has the option to vote to extend that, but the policy does not say that.
Dr. Brennan?
I think that's a great point. I think as a board that's always wanted to have the ability to have public comments and have input, that if maybe we could look at that wording also when they look at that other one, and we could review that when it comes back to us for a final list. But I think the board should have the ability to extend public comments if they wish to do so.
Okay. Ms. Morrison?
I understand your question, but I think that we need to remember the consistency question. Why would you allow this group to go past 30 minutes, but you won't allow this group or this individual to go? And I think that's the reason for the 30-minute time limit. We try not to cut anyone off, but I do think we would have questions about why one and why not the other. I'm not saying it's...
Yeah. Thank you, Ms. Morrison. Well stated, and we've had these discussions in the past. Mr. Harvey, in light of you raising what you stated, this was for discussion tonight, and we'll have some further conversation around it in relationship to which we'll come back before. Again, the policies have no value if we don't follow them, and so I do understand that. Dr. Carter?
Mrs. Morrison said what I wanted to say regarding consistency. We couldn't just arbitrarily that night decide, okay, we're going to take more time because we need to hear more of this, and the following week not do that.
Not do that.
But also, we have some neighboring school boards that only hear comments on the subjects or the topics at hand versus just talking about anything. So there's a lot of ways we can look at that, and to make it that to address what our agenda is addressing, whereas we have it, you can address any topic. And as I know in previous times when we've talked about this, we always say, and we have to remember, we still have an agenda to do.
Well said, Dr. Carter. Anyone else for Mr. Harvey?
And I also wanted to suggest that the committee looks at, because I know at one time we were talking about if we kept having a repetitive subject matter from a single group or individual that was happening at every single meeting. Because that's where I have a concern. If we have a limit of 30 minutes and we have the same subject matter coming at every single meeting, and then we have other people who wish to speak, we could conceivably run out of time before they have the opportunity to speak. So that's why I think all of these issues should be discussed to a certain degree, and I think with the rewrite of the policy, this is the good time to discuss that.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. No other thoughts on that? Dr. Edwards will need to reschedule another meeting for the governance group, work group, to deal with BDDHZ. All right, thank you very much. We appreciate that. All right, that now moves us to the next item on this section of our agenda, which will deal with human resources policy updates. Dr. Edwards.
Okay. So the Human Resources Group met on March 31st, and we haven't met for quite some time, so we had a lot of work to do. You will see a listing of VSBA policy updates, as well as some that were probably older than 3 to 5 years since we've last reviewed them. So I'm going to go to the VSBA ones first and just kind of give you an overview of some of those changes. Again, this is just for information this week, and then they will be up for a vote next time we meet in May. Again, GBG, which is participation in political activities. VSBA changed the pronoun references in that policy. Personnel records, it removed the statement regarding separate personnel files. We like the official file to be in the HR department, not separate personnel files. GCBA, which is the staff salary schedules, it removed the requirement that we do this annually. And you know, some of our salary scales we've done each year, but it's not a requirement that annually you have to do your salary schedules. GCBC, which is the fringe benefits, again, they are taking out the word shall in that policy. So most of these were minor. Which one's next on here? GCBE is another one where we changed the pronouns and took out the word shall. The non-school employment by staff members, again, take out the word shall, and they add the RIF guideline language that's in code. And evaluation of support staff, oops, I skipped one, sorry. Non-school employment by support staff, excuse me, they added the word designee so that it just doesn't have to be the administrator or superintendent. And evaluation of support staff, removing the word shall. And then the last one, they deleted the 5 years. I guess a while ago, Lynchburg City Schools decided that a probationary term could be up to 5 years, and it's now by code 3 years. So those are the changes, the minor ones from VSBA. Let me just get a sip of this. And then we're also in the process of looking at, I don't know what's in my throat right now, looking at the policies that need to be changed. And I don't know if Ms. Cardwell is on Zoom with us. She might not have got back yet. But some of our policies that are more than 3 to 5 years old are GBEZ, which is our staff conduct policy. And one of the things that we're looking at with that one, it lists a bunch of things that are reasons for disciplinary action and the expectations for staff. And we want to clarify around number 2 as it relates to job abandonment when folks do not show up for work. So please take a look at that one specifically. Any feedback that you have would be great. GBM, which is professional staff grievances. These relate to the code, and it references the code. It's easier to reference the code if it keeps changing than to have the policy, and then we have to go back and do the policy. So I do have those codes. If you want to look at those codes, I can send you the link for that. GBM, support staff grievances, again, it references the code, gives a little bit more detail, talks about the appeal process, for which I'm included, you're included, the board's included. It's a written record, but not a hearing. So we need to make sure that that's clear. Some people think appeal naturally means I get to stand before you and plead my case. The way this is written is it's an appeal that can be done on paper. So a person can submit documentation as opposed to being physically present. Doesn't preclude the board from having anyone be physically present, but physical presence is not mandatory in that. And then GBZ, which is our badges, we just want to change any reference to the word personnel department to HR, human resources department as well.
All right, that's a lot, and Dr. Edwards, you did a good job of explaining that, and again, this is for discussion tonight, it's a lot, but at this point in the agenda, is there anyone that would like to raise any concerns or thoughts for the board to consider concerning these human resource policy updates? Okay, so we will see this again in our next meeting. All right, K3, the Carl Perkins Fund 2122 and CTE Advisory Update.
Okay, and this is an annual thing we have to do with Carl Perkins funds. And Dr. Bryant, are you on Zoom?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about Perkins funds and also just a quick update from the CTE Advisory.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Edwards, Dr. Coleman, and board members. What I'd like to do is review the past meeting quickly, and then that will lead me into the Perkins plan for next year. Our Career and Technical Advisory Committee met on March 26th via Zoom. We had many updates, such as our counselor, Jesse Hunt, provided an update on CTE courses and testing for industry credentialing. Sarada Hester provided an update on the scheduling process that is taking place now. We had updates from CVCC about their CTE initiative. We also heard from Dr. Chris Glover from the Beacon of Hope. He provided a presentation on his research regarding workforce issues in the region. We also heard from Stephen Brinley from Liberty University. They are starting an aerospace technology department, aerospace technology program in aviation maintenance, and that may be open to high school students in 2022. We also put together the budget for next year, and the budget was passed by the Career and Technical Advisory Council. So I'll briefly review the budget. The budget was put together by the advisory committee, some teachers, and with the help of some federal guidelines for CTE. We expect about $250,000 for next year. We're going to spend the funds on career guidance, such as career assessments and field trips to career fairs and job shadowing. We're going to spend funds on student organization, such as state and national competitions. Those are still taking place this year, but they are taking place remotely. So students are still participating in state and national competitions and conferences. We're also going to spend money on professional development for our teachers. We would like to update our software whenever we can and make sure our students have the proper electronic textbooks if needed. We're going to update our middle school labs. We've been doing that this year, and by the end of next year, all three of our middle schools will have new computers and new software for all of their CTE programs. As far as some specific pieces of equipment, we'd like to purchase a planer for carpentry, some cybersecurity lab modules, new mannequins and portable electric accessories for cosmetology, crime scene simulation kits for criminal justice, some vital sign machine and pulse recovery for the health sciences, new grills and ovens for culinary. One thing I'm really excited about is auto technology. We've been talking about it for a couple of years, is to update and to have some modules so that students can study hybrid and electric vehicles. We're going to continue with our laboratory safety by purchasing safety glasses and lockable cabinets. And finally, we want to make sure our teachers have the proper equipment, such as cameras, video cameras, microphones, so they can improve the quality of their classroom and virtual instruction if needed. With the board's approval, I can submit the plan to the VDOE. So I'll just step away and thank you very much for your participation. Mr. Harvey and Dr. Coleman, thank you for participating in our meeting in March that we had at the end of March. And also like to thank Grayson Arnold, the student representative from Heritage High School, who mentioned many of the things that were going on in CTE at Heritage. So thank you for that.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Bryant. With a wonderful meeting that you all had the other day and Mr. Harvey's ongoing participation. Dr. Edwards, is this an action item that we need to deal with tonight?
I think it's for information only. My computer just decided to stop.
I have discussion and information. Okay. So, Mr. Harvey?
verify that, but I believe we do need to vote so he can submit the Perkins funding.
Chair would like clarification. What do you need from us tonight, Doc?
Yeah, if the board could approve that, I can submit this at the end of the month.
What is the pleasure of the board? Mr. Harvey?
I would like to make the motion that we approve the Perkins funding request so that it can be submitted.
There's a motion on the floor by Mr. Harvey. Is there a second? Ms. Morrison?
I second that motion.
All right. Any further questions or discussion on the motion? Dr. Carter?
I just, is this a different format? Because generally I thought it was a pretty thorough application or in-depth report. It just seemed really simplified this year. Okay.
Dr. Bryant, you want to speak to that, or Dr. Edwards?
Yeah, I do have the full application, and this is what I turned in last year. I just turned in the budget part to simplify the whole thing. So I think this is what's been turned in. This is what was turned in last year.
Questions by members of the board? All right. If there are none, we are going to call for the vote, and all of our board members are tonight. That's why we haven't been doing roll call. And Ms. Day is working on getting us back in harmony with our board docs so that we can do voting electronically. And of course, we'll get training for that prior to. But all those in favor of us approving the Carl Perkins funds as requested tonight indicate by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries, and continue on with the great work. Anything else? All right, well, that will conclude that, and we will now move on to K4, which, according to my records, is a budget transfer request, and it will be information, discussion, and action tonight in harmony with our board goal. Dr. Edwards?
Yep. So if you recall, a couple months ago, I alerted you that we were trying to work with schools to make sure that we were being thoughtful and mindful about spending the money on things that they needed, particularly as we bring more kids back and use our spaces a little differently. So some of the budget requests that you'll see here are for furniture, just to expand some facilities things, as well as some additional cameras and upgrades. But I will let Ms. Lakonich kind of do a quick overview.
Yes, good evening again. So we had identified some savings and put in the budget transfer request in March. This is additional, looking at other personnel lines. And talking to the schools and getting a list of what their needs are. We looked at, for this round, things that are more geared towards services so that we would have a chance. That's why we're bringing it to you for action tonight, is to get a chance to have that work done. It's geared towards technology in the area of additional security cameras and some wireless updates, as well as maintenance with some furniture, like Dr. Edwards stated, and just some other requests that the schools had from the maintenance department. The total at this point was $520,000, with $280,000 going into the technology non-personnel line and $240,000 transferred to the maintenance non-personnel line. And again, this was coming to you for action tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Lakonich. You've heard from the administration staff. What is the pleasure of the board in terms of a motion to request the $520,000 transfer from the personal savings to the two said personnel, non-personnel lines for purchase?
Can I just ask for a point of clarification?
Please, Dr. Brennan.
Mr. Conover, can you just help me as far as clarification goes? The funds that we talked about before that were transferred into the the insurance, healthcare, medical insurance funds, we did not need to improve those because they were in personnel section already, or can you help me just why we're approving these and did not have to prove that $500,000?
I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt you. The transfers, these have to come to the board because they're within the same, not in the same function by major category. So these, when we look at it, they're in the category of transportation, at the school level, and they're all being transferred to technology, which is, and maintenance, which is a different function. So because they're outside that major category, by policy, we're required to come to the board for that.
Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification, Mr. Lakonich. Any further? Did we have a motion?
Yes, I move that we
Thank you.
allow the transfer of these funds.
All right, there's a motion from Dr. Carter for the $520,000 transfer from personal savings to technology and to maintenance for the said amounts in the non-personnel lines to purchase. Is there a second? Second by Dr. Gupta. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, we will now carry the vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Mrs. Klonich, and continue on. That now moves us to our last item in new business, K5, which is dealing with Partners in Education Charter. And this satisfies our goal 4, family and community engagement. Dr. Edwards for Mrs. Morrison and Zibia Christian.
Yes, absolutely. So we have a wonderful team that works with Partners in Education. And is Ms. Christian on Zoom?
I am.
Okay. So we meet regularly, and one of the goals of at least 2 of the meetings that I attended was to talk about sort of reframing their charter, outlining their roles and responsibilities, which is what I included for you to take a look at. So, Ms. Christian, you want to talk a little bit about that process?
Well, allow Susan Morrison to help me out with talking about that, and I'm here to assist.
So I'll take that on. When Partners in Education, I've really enjoyed being a part of this group. They certainly are supportive and energetic about Lynchburg City Schools, and we're fortunate not only to have a board member on that committee, but also as a community member. Mr. Harvey's been on it for a lot longer than I have, so Mr. Harvey, if you have additional comments, I'll count on you to make them. We started this progress because we were in kind of a pause mode, just like so many of our groups, not being able to go into schools and volunteer in schools because of COVID. So we took this opportunity to look at what we could do to improve and to move forward. We wanted to identify existing partnerships, those that were no longer in existence, those that were not working as well as they wanted to and as we wanted them to look at the membership of the PI Advisory Board to make sure that it's representative of the committee and that we fulfill our responsibilities in terms of equity. Also to identify processes to make it work. We found that some of our schools were going to PI partners and requesting things when we already had it in our budget. So Mrs. Christian came up with a form for principals to submit requests, and if we could cover it out of our budget, we would do so. And if not, then she could reach out to partners, whether it be for furniture or water bottles. But we first wanted to make sure that we weren't asking our partners to provide things that we were already able to do. This is a joint venture between LCS and Lynchburg Regional Business Alliance, but a lot of things have changed over the years. When we first started Partners in Education, which is I think why I got to be on this committee, working as a principal at E.C. Glass High School, we had a full-time position devoted to this partnership between businesses and Lynchburg City Schools. We also had a line item budget request for a certain amount of money that helped pay for recognition and the programs that we could do with our partners. Those things have been eliminated. We have a person assigned from Lynchburg City Schools, and Mrs. Christian has done a wonderful job along with her other responsibilities. Recognizing that, then we needed to identify how the board members could help with this process, whether it was taking an assigned school and communicating with that school, whether it was finding other partners that could fill that request. We were really interested in expanding this. So that's why you're getting a copy of a proposed charter, recognizing that the PI Advisory Board will come forward with recommendations for membership. It will be up to Lynchburg City School Board, like we do for other advisory committees to approve that. Dr. Coleman, I was on this board last year and I'm on it this year, but it will be a committee assignment from the board, and that's not something that we've done in the past. We decided on this because of the PI program supported. We did not have a strategic plan when we started the Partners in Education, and we wanted to be a part of that strategic plan, and the movements and the programs that we were working toward fit in with what we were doing in Lynchburg City Schools. And Goal 4, which is family and community engagement, purposely works with families, communities, and businesses to provide the best education for our students, was where we fit into this as a PI advisory board. So we provided the charter for you. There's already one correction. Ms. Zebia Christian is the Lynchburg City School Administration liaison to the Partners in Education. She reports and works with Ethel Reeves, who has been very helpful in this process. I need to give a shout out to Hank Hubbard, our board chair this year, who has worked really hard to help us focus when we are all over the place and to help us identify our needs and how we can move forward to best benefit our students and their education and our business partners. They provide so much for our students, and we don't want to lose that. We don't want them to say, I'm not getting what I need, so I can go other places. So refocusing on what we could do, how we can engage our partners, that's been a focus. And if you have questions after you read this, if you'd email them, then we can make sure all board members get them and we can answer them correctly. But this is just for information tonight. Mr. Harvey or Ms. Christian, do you all have anything that I left out?
I think you covered it very well.
Ms. Christian, anything?
I agree. You did very well. Thank you, Susan. I couldn't have said it better myself. And I do want to take the time to thank Dr. Edwards for her leadership and Ethel Reeves for her leadership, as well as thanking all of our wonderful partners that are working with us in education.
Thank you so much. Dr. Brennan.
So I just want to support what has been said. I think this is such an important organization for Lynchburg City Schools. We have such amazing community support from our businesses, and to do it in an efficient and appropriate way, I think is just great, and I love that this being looked at in a new way. I have a couple of questions, two questions actually. One is that you're talking about being consistent with things. So if we make this an advisory committee to the school board, and we have a school representative on it, then does that have some effect on our other advisory committees as far as they should have a school board member? Why do we have it on this committee and not on others? Just a question. And then the other one is that it sounded like, and Ms. Mars, you know this better than the rest of us probably, that when there was an individual in Lynchburg City Schools responsible for this, it was a big job, and it really was a full-time job. It seems like every time we come up with a good idea, it's the family and community engagement liaison that gets it. Is this going to, that person, will Ms. Christian kind of be that person who's going to do all of that work, or is that shared with the Regional Lynchburg Business Alliance? Or so the two concerns: one is, are we setting a precedent about an advisory committee that has a school board member on it? And number two is it going to work okay for the person who's going to be working in this committee?
Well, and I think that's why we asked for board feedback. This was the preference of the committee that put this charter together, and we got feedback on it, and they felt that it was important. We also have two representatives, one from secondary and one from elementary, Mr. Beatty and Mrs. Anderson, and they provide valuable input. And I think that and that was a question I think we have asked about the consistency. It should be important, and we want to be consistent with our OCR requirements. And so I will ask that back. That's a good question. I think that the other question that we had, if you'll notice that they set a term limit, that they're appointed for a certain number of years, and then you can be reapply. But it's almost, and I think for that, because businesses turn over and people leave, and someone who is doing on that advisory board may not be able to do it, but they may want to propose someone who can. I don't know why. I think that a school board rep has been helpful in terms of policies and communication, but I do understand the need for consistency.
And the question about the support person who's really going to keep this going, what do you think, what's your feeling?
We think it is something that's important, but this is not the only thing that they do. They have many other requirements, and I think that has been a concern, that we have stretched it very thin, and it has gone back to budget in terms of when somebody left the position, what could we do to save money? So it was shifted, and it wasn't one that I've heard from board members that was appreciated, because the work of the board is very important, but that's a budget item. And now this advisory board could make a recommendation, just like the other advisory board, that we think this is a position that there's a real need, and we think it's important if we're going to continue to grow as we have been in the past. And this can't be done with many other hats being worn by this person. I don't know the answer to that.
Sure. Well, thank you.
Ms. Evans?
If I can just give this is Ethel. Good evening, everyone. If I could just give a bit of history, the position, when it started, as Ms. Morrison stated, was a position where there was one person doing this in central office. And of course, it predates me. More recently, and right before I took over working with Partners in Education, it was a stipend position, and one of our principals actually led the Partners in Education program in addition to running the school with a support person. Right. The vision, and Dr. Edwards, of course, can speak to this, was to really decrease the silo effect of all the many things that go on that impact our schools. And so in the Office of Equity and Community Relations, and under the leadership of our Division Family Engagement Liaison, we're able to streamline a process wherein all of the partners, all of our community organizations come to one place, so that we can, of course, give credit where credit is due for those who are doing some amazing things with us. But at the same time, we're also working with our Lynchburg Regional Business Alliance. It is, as you all have stated, a pretty hefty undertaking. And I know the Family Engagement Liaison position is one that has other responsibilities and duties. So I appreciate this conversation. And, I look forward to figuring out a way that we can keep this at the forefront, because there are great things that are occurring. And even during a pandemic, we've had the support of an amazing community, and we don't want that to be lost. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Director Reeves. That was very important to note that historical context. Ms. Evans?
Just going to say, I know the idea of more meetings for people is, nobody really wants more meetings, but you talked about a school board member being on that advisory panel, and to be honest with you, I think we should have one on all of them on the Special Ed Advisory Committee. And I know it's asking more of people, but I think it's valuable. I think you learn more. You're learning more about this than you ever would any other way, and then you can bring it to us. Without us all having to go to this meeting, we can learn. And I just think the more we can do that, the better. It's more support for the staff of Lynchburg City Schools and the community that's helping Lynchburg City Schools. And I just think it's a smart thing to think about.
Well said, Ms. Evans. Anyone else want to comment on this matter? And I'm so grateful to see the development of thought to this point where we can make some decision around what's going on with Partners in Education. And so, having said that, we will take under advisement what has been shared by various board members, and Ms. Morrison and Ms. Christian, et cetera, will ready us for the discussion in May. Dr. Brennan.
That's my question. I just wasn't sure, what is the next step? Does this come back to the
It
board?
is my opinion that this will be circulated with further thought between now and the May meeting, and then we will then vote on the Partners in Education Charter in our May meeting. So it may be the work session or in June.
Sorry. It'll be the second meeting in May, because I think our next meeting, Gary, is...
The 4th.
Yeah.
Oh, your meeting, I see.
If I remember correctly.
Let me check real quick.
Well, well, understood. It'll come after you all have met, and we will put it on our agenda appropriately. Yes, sir.
But I do want to follow up on the comment that Dr. Brennan asked. I guess this will be a discussion item, or we're going to turn it over to someone to research or think about. Are we going to have board members on each committee?
Yeah, we will have further discussion and getting input from board members about this. I think Ms. Bell Evans' point is certainly heard. So we'll have that kind of conversation. And I'm under the understanding that Ms. Morrison and Ms. Christian, maybe even you, will look into these matters. That group will meet, and then this charter will come back to us, which will speak to that for this, and then this would not address other pieces, but we will understand that. Thank you, Dr. Brennan, for bringing that up. Mr. Harvey, is that acceptable to you? So this could come back to us in late May or June, or it may be July.
Yeah, I think that the Partners in Education group is actually sort of making that recommendation that we have a school board representative that is appointed each year to serve on that committee. So I guess if we vote next month on approving this, that would be the case. But then it goes back to the point that Dr. Brennan asked, are we going to do this on all committees? And I guess that's for the general board to decide.
Well said, and we will work on that. Our clerk has so noted this consideration, and whether it be through one of our working groups or however we're going to do that, we will come back with feedback concerning this. So thank you, Dr. Brennan, and thank you, Ms. Evans, for those insightful eyes on this matter. And Ms. Morrison, you did a great job bringing this to us. All right, so we're making some progress. All right, thank you so much. Thank you, board. All right, if it's all right with everyone at this point, we will now move to this section L, which is the superintendent's comments.
Well, I just, again, thank you for all of the support and surprise tonight. I appreciate it, and on behalf of all of the superintendents, I'm sure all of us appreciate the support from our boards and our community, our families during this time. And I can tell you that all of us are looking forward to getting back to some sense of normalcy next school year, if not the summer being sooner. I also want to thank our student reps. They do a great job of giving us so much information about what's going on in the schools and just representing us across the board. And I know, congratulations to Jaden for being inducted into the Honor Society tonight. And I just want to give a special thank you to her for also participating in the superintendent's breakfast. She did an amazing job just representing the student point of view. And tonight we had a lot of celebration of some of the things that our kids have done. And I also want to just celebrate some of our choral students who excelled at the virtual auditions for All-State Chorus. So our delegates, Isabel Only, Soprano 2, was first delegate. Morgan Cook, Bass 1, second delegate. Drew Morris, Bass 2, first delegate. Claire Thornton, Soprano 1, second alternate delegate. Jodalie Irby, Alto 1, first alternate delegate, and a couple of honorable mentions in Lillian Wood, Kylie Morris, and Olivia Ownby. So again, just the amount of amazing accomplishments our kids have been able to do during a pandemic is phenomenal. They did not let the virtual space slow them down. They still showed that they can be successful in that realm. So congratulations to all of the students, and congratulations to all of the staff who made these successes that our kids are experiencing possible. And I know earlier we had a parent who talked about creativity, and we should certainly be creative and never stop being innovative. But we have some staff who moved mountains and moved obstacles and made things happen for our kids. So I just want to congratulate them because they never gave up hope that kids could still do some amazing things during this pandemic. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Edwards, and we appreciate your comments tonight. This will now move us to our board comments, and those board comments under Section M. We'll start with School Board Member Harvey.
Yeah, I would just like to once again congratulate all of our CTE students for their many awards this year, especially as we've mentioned during a pandemic. Everything from our criminal science classes to our building trades, our technology classes, culinary classes, health science, all of those have participated in different types of events and competitions and have done very well representing LCS. I also want to thank the Optimist Club for recognizing our Career Tech program and continuing to support us each and every year. My final comment is, as an individual school board member, I would really like to encourage this task force to re-engage and re-engage vigorously. As I attended the city council meeting, you know, that cooperation that we need with council is critical, and so I appreciate what our school board members are doing. It's, I guess, from an individual board position, I don't hear as much feedback from what's happening. So I would like to just either have more detail of what's occurring, but also to encourage that to be a priority. What I hear from a lot of different sides is, you know, during this pandemic, things have kind of slowed down. But I feel like that there are so many issues that LCS is faced with right now. Everything from capital improvements to, you know, transportation to Wi-Fi to everything that we are facing are critical items that in many ways are problems that we need to solve together with council. And I just think that task force is going to be critical because that is one of our major bridges between the two groups.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. School Board Member Gupta.
I just wanted to congratulate Dr. Edwards for being the Superintendent of the Year. And I'd like to thank one unsung hero who sits there, our board clerk, Ms. Day. She emails on Saturdays, Sundays. Man, I don't know where you get all that energy from, but thank you for all you do for the school board. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gupta. School Board Member Sinha.
Well, I don't often make comments at the end of the meetings, but I'm going to make up for that with a prepared statement I have in response to our budget presentation and some of the things that were said there, if I may.
Please.
And this is a prepared statement, I first sought appointment to the school board in January 2017, and at my interview, Council Helgeson lamented the years-long trend in enrollment declines, asserting that enrollment declines are evidence of failing schools. Helgeson's failing schools inference is based on oversimplified and circular reasoning where families don't enroll their children in failing schools, that is, if they don't have to. LCS enrollments are declining despite population growth. Declining enrollment means Lynchburg families must not be enrolling their children in LCS, and therefore LCS is failing. Councilman Helgeson is wrong, and here's why. A demographic analysis conducted by the University of Virginia's Weldon Cooper Center for Public Service identified 3 trends causing Lynchburg City's public school enrollment to decline. 1, an increasing number of families are choosing to educate their children at home. 2, there's been a slight decline in the number of births in the city. And 3, there is a rising number of families moving out of the city. While there are a variety of reasons why families commonly move out of Virginia's city school divisions, the preference among most families for single-family homes is one of the main reasons. Only 58% of Lynchburg's housing stock is single-family homes, compared with 89% in the surrounding counties. As for those families that stay in Lynchburg, school choice is influenced by factors not tied to perceived LCS quality. Chief among these are religious preferences, racial preferences. Let's not forget that academies like Liberty Christian Academy grew out of massive resistance to school desegregation. And there's a perceived advantage in college admissions for families aggressively seeking enrollment in exclusive colleges. Given these demographic trends and personal preferences, Helgeson's failing schools assertion falls apart. But just the same, he uses it as justification to decrease city funding for public education. Moreover, the councilman sees operating costs as a simple function of cost per student and total enrollment, such that operating costs should increase or decrease in proportion to enrollment increases or decreases. First, this math ignores inflationary factors that offset enrollment declines. For example, personnel costs increase with across-the-board salary increases and established pay scale step increases. Second, employee benefits, in particular medical coverage, increase every year at rates higher than inflation. Second, Helgeson's math assumes that cost per student is equal for all students. In truth, costs per student are variable, determined by individual risk factors and learning needs. Moreover, risks and needs vary in their degree of impact on learning. And most importantly, risk factors and needs are not randomly distributed, but are concentrated among vulnerable populations. Think of it like a risk pool in health insurance. The per-person cost for a risk pool of predominantly young and healthy individuals will be much lower than the per-person cost for a risk pool of older individuals and persons with underlying medical conditions. This is not to say that LCS students are sicker than their private school peers, but LCS does enroll substantially more vulnerable students, and they bring with them significantly more risks and needs. So picture 2 swimming pools. One is private and one is public. Each pool is 100 feet long by 50 feet wide. On the surface, the water level for both pools is the same. However, the private pool is 3 feet deep all around. The public pool, on the other hand, is 3 feet deep at one end and 15 feet deep at the other. Obviously, it takes a lot more water to fill the public pool to the same level as the private pool, even though both pools appear to be the same when looking at the surface. The 2021-22 budget presented by Dr. Edwards and the school board represents what we believe it will take to fill the LCS swimming pool. Many of our children are in the deep end, and some of them are barely able to keep their heads above water. Now, for added difficulty, throw in big waves whipped up by a pandemic. So, the city can fill the pool and fund what is needed for LCS to graduate strong swimmers. Or the city can follow Lynchburg tradition and fill the pool with dirt. Councilman Helgeson's failing school narrative misrepresents reality. His spurious conclusion exposes his antipathy for public education. Throwing dirt on our public schools by calling them failing serves no good purpose except to tarnish our city and encourage families to relocate to surrounding counties.
Well said.
Thank you, Dr. Sinha, for your comments. School Board Member Nilles.
Yeah, I think it's encouraging to see the success of the students in spite of the COVID-induced isolation. It speaks well of all the staff and administration, and particularly the students and their families. So kudos to them. This is a good time of the year to be on the school board, to see the awards and successes. This is when it gets trotted out. So this is what it's all about. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nilles, for your comments. School Board Member Brennan.
I want to once again thank the staff, the administration, but all the teachers and bus drivers and nutrition people who got the children back into school today in pre-K through second, and are going to do it again next week, and then on May 11th for the 6th grade. It's been such a tremendous effort, and we all really appreciate it at every level. I'd like to thank Dr. Edwards and her administrative team for the wonderful presentation to City Council in March. I know, we know how much effort went into that presentation, how many hours and months you spent designing that budget and putting it forward, and you did a wonderful job, and we're glad that we were able to be there to support you for it, and I'm sure it will be successful. I want to just do a brief shout out. We got several emails recently, but one was from Mr. Rod Camden, who I just have to comment on. Because I think most people know Mr. Camden as Coach Camden and has been there for a long time. And I just want to read part of his email talking about the blocks system, which I will skip that part. But his introduction is, next year will be my 50th year at EC Glass, and I'm concerned about the block schedule for next year. I've never complained about class time since we moved from 55-minute classes from 55 minutes to 50-minute classes, which was a long time ago. And he concludes by saying, and I won't guess how old Mr. Camden is, but he's up there. He concludes by saying, I've just recertified for 10 more years. And I'm not sure that I can teach the modified block schedule, but I will reluctantly give it a shot next year if we go to the modified block schedule. So kudos to Mr. Camden. And then last, I just want to recognize Mrs. Morrison for returning to us back to in person. We're glad to have her. I want to recognize that she was recognized by EC Glass as being an excellent principal and teacher and all the various things she's done for Lynchburg City Schools. And thank you for the snacks that you brought.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Brennan, for your comments. School Board Member Carter.
Just want to send a shout out to all the superintendents for that award, and specifically to our superintendent, Dr. Edwards, just for just being able to navigate and keep your head up during this time, because there was so much opposition and between parents, not so much opposition, but complaints and concerns, and validly so, from even challenges from your own school board, and that was seen all across the school districts, and just for the superintendents just to navigate and to try to do the best they can, thinking about the students and the safety issues and all of that. And also just a shout out to the bus drivers. They're doing an amazing job just getting the students to school, and just please be patient. Right now, I think everybody wants something right now, and no one can be patient, but be patient and just call the number, and then your child will get to school. And I was able to see Little Women that was put on at Heritage High School, and that was wonderful that we still had the opportunity, the students still had the opportunity to participate in that. And just a shout out of thanks to Dr. Meredith Wu with Sweetbriar College, the president of Sweetbriar College, and Dr. Morris Shetler, the president of University of Lynchburg, and Dr. Edwards for their assistance in helping me present to the Dunbar Middle High School regarding women in history, being the first in this area. Oftentimes we talk about other people in other places, but we have so many first here. And also, you were one of the people mentioned too, that she was the first principal, and also just coming on board, and the school board, and the president, the chair of the school board, and all of that. So Susan she's truly a homegrown person.
Thank you, Dr. Carter, for your comment.
And one
Go
more
right
thing,
ahead,
just
please.
for the students, just to say, they may hear a lot about so much learning loss, they're going to be so far behind, but those words can be powerful and can create a sense of doom for them, but don't dwell on that. You can recover, you can do well, and you can get back. I know now we're doing SOLs, and they've heard all this time that that you probably have a learning loss, and then we're putting them in SOLs. So what are we saying? I want to challenge them to do the best you can, and just to know that you can recover, and you can do better, and you will get there.
Thank you so much, Dr. Carter. School Board Member Morrison.
I want to thank Dr. Brennan and Dr. Carter for their kind words, and to the other school board members who reached out when they saw the article on me on the EC Glass Facebook. I was hesitant to do it, but then I realized that not only was I the first female to lead a secondary high school, but I was also the first EC Glass graduate to return to that position, and that history is one that runs through our family. So thank you for your kind words. It was an honor for me to serve. Now, saying that, I have some EC Glass news since we didn't have our rep here tonight. On April the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, the EC Glass Theater will present Oklahoma on stage.
Wow.
They have been working hard. As a member of the cast told me, it's very hard to stage a fight scene socially distanced and with masks. So they did a preview at the Academy, and it was very well received. They've submitted it to the Virginia Theater Association for review, and I would encourage it. It's in the theater, and they're limited tickets. I think they're doing, EC Glass seats 2,000, and they're, I think, admitting 250. So it's limited. I also read about the EC Glass Air Force ROTC. They have a group that they've advanced to compete in the National Championships of Junior ROTC Academic Bowl, one of 16 teams across the nation out of 462 teams to advance. They compete in grammar, math, science, current events, military, and ROTC knowledge. And I want to congratulate the team, Cadet Airman First Class Tor Anderson, Cadet Technical Sergeant Walker Weber, Team Captain Cadet Major Jillian Nyland, and Cadet Airman Caroline Phillips. I also read that EC Glass High School had Ina Lynch named as the top piccolo player in the entire state.
My niece.
Wow.
Very proud board member. And that takes practice, it takes commitment, and it certainly takes skill, but also a love. And we are very proud of your niece. So I just want, and if you don't get the EC Glass newsletter, please write Karen Lynch. She will put you on it. It is full of information, the Career Technical Awards, the pictures, and the same thing is true of Heritage High School. Good things are happening. And we will continue to see this increase as we get more students involved and back. And I like what Dr. Carter said. They're going back to SOL testing and the pressure that people put on them because they will, if we don't do well, this reflects on this. This year reflects on the situation that we're dealing with in terms of the COVID pandemic. And I think we're going to see our students rise to the challenge, and we'll come back next year and fully engaged. And I'm proud to be a member of this board.
Thank you, Ms. Morrison, for your comments. School Board Member Evans.
I would just quickly like to say to Kim, thank you for saying what you said and everything that you said about, I struggled through that city council meeting as well. I think it was difficult to listen to, but on a positive side of it, I did reach out to Chris Feraldi, and we did have an hour and 45-minute discussion that was very productive and gave me hope, the idea of us working with city council. So while I felt the same frustration you did, and I appreciate the effort you put into everything you wrote tonight to squash down those things that were said that were not truths or half-truths toward the city, I do appreciate those. But I also want to say thank you to Chris Feraldi for being willing to meet with me and sitting down and trying to figure out the best way, because the end goal, bottom line, is we're all in it for the students of Lynchburg City, and we've got to figure out a way to do it together. And you're exactly right. By bashing the city schools or bashing back and forth gets us nowhere and tarnishes the reputation, to me, of the whole city, not just the schools, but everybody involved. And Feraldi was very open to the idea of working with the school board and trying to figure out, we may not always agree on everything, but if we can figure out a way to do it respectfully and everybody being focused on the end goal. I felt positive after meeting with him, and I felt hopeful. And I didn't feel that kind of when we sat through that meeting, so I was happy to have a different take on it after meeting with him. So I do think it's very important that we continue to do that and be open and willing to talk about difficult things with City Council. That's it. And thank you to Dr. Edwards and everything that's been done and the award, and I'm thrilled about 6th grade going back. I read it, I was so excited. I think for those kids it's awesome, so thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Evans, for your comments. I did give a listing of about 25 items for my little report, so you can look at that on your own. It's a lot to learn about LCS, and each of us, we are enjoying increased opportunities to learn so that we can be more effective for kids. I would just want to say, outside of how proud we are of our superintendent and entire staff, that we are an engaged school board. I am so proud of every member of this school board as I observe you going to this place and that place and being engaged. We are school board members. That's why during the public comments, I addressed you as a school board member. The Commonwealth of Virginia has invested much trust in each of us, and each of you are not only doing what would be the minimum, you are exceeding that. And we are empowering LCS for present and post-COVID excellence. As our tradition of excellence continues, Dr. Edwards, under your leadership, at an elevated level. And that's all I want to say for right now. We will now move into what we call N, Section N, informational items. And I will indicate that the school board work session, guess what? School board members, same place, same back channel, everything. This coming Tuesday, we're going to be right back at it, right here, for our work session. So please govern yourselves accordingly. And then our Finance Committee, Mr. Harvey, is April the 27th, according to what I have here. And the school board meeting, regular meeting, will be Tuesday, May the 4th. Ms. Evans, if this is continuously correct, May the 11th for the Legislative Advocacy and Community Relations. And so that gives us, Dr. Edwards has one item she'd like to.
Yeah, I just need to make a correction, and it's not one that I want to make, but it's one that I have to make with regard to the gathering limits for our drama and theater. We are subject to the governor's orders of EO 72, Order 72, which is the 50-person indoor limit. And I know our theater programs have worked phenomenally, and just, it is different than what recreational sports are allowed to have, but I didn't want, I know Ms. Morrison said about 250 people. I didn't want anyone to email her. It is not Ms. Morrison. This is the governor's order that we as public schools have to follow that went into effect April 1st, 2021. So we'll do our best to showcase our talent while still being compliant with the orders, but do support our arts and theater programs.
Thank you, Dr. Edwards, for that. It's very important, and thank each of the board members. Section O of our sharing tonight, closed meeting. The school board now would need to approve a motion to convene a closed meeting to discuss the following as permitted by the Virginia Code, Section 2.23711A7, closed meeting for the purpose of discussing the following specific matter, the superintendent's evaluation process. Is there a motion now for us to convene a closed meeting for the said purpose? The motion from Ms. Morrison, seconded by Dr. Brennan. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion carries, and we will go right into the same room that we had for our first closed meeting, and we want to thank the public for coming tonight and being a part of our meeting. We'll go right into the closed meeting.